We already talked about the asshole test, which has become our primary screening process in our attempt to keep out the vast majority of bad people, bad guests and volunteers who will contribute to a negative social experience here. And I would say in general, the asshole test works quite well. You just ask people if they're an asshole, and if they get uncomfortable with that question, odds are that they're an asshole, and maybe you don't want them to come hang out with you, right? But if they laugh and have a good time or continue the conversation in some way after you ask them if they're an asshole, it means they're generally a lot easier to get along with, or they're not self-conscious or sensitive, or hopefully they're not an asshole. And everyone here currently has passed the asshole test, right? So good job, all of you. I hope you don't turn out to be assholes who managed to cheat the test. Although we will talk about one person who did pass the asshole test, and well, I don't think asshole is the word I would use to describe him. We'll have a whole separate video dedicated just to this one guy because it deserves its own attention. But yeah, technically he wasn't an asshole. He was something else, something worse. But I want to talk about other screening tests, or what you might call shit tests, or just weird little warning signs of people who have contacted me about wanting to come here, most of whom never even got to the stage of getting on a call with me, because something they did or said immediately made it clear this was not someone I wanted coming to my house. And some of these are just like personal preferences, like maybe you wouldn't see a problem with this, but it doesn't match the kind of person I want coming here to the Calavan Retreat Center. And some of them are pretty clear, like bad things all around that anybody would agree is not someone they want, right? And these are happening constantly. Like you commented the other day, as we were preparing to film this video, you said, well, why don't we just wait a few more days? And I'm sure in those few days, a few more people will contact you and we'll have a few more stories to share. Because it seems like almost daily we have more. I had to take notes because so many things have happened and I've forgotten about most of them, and they're just kind of funny little things. Here's an example. Somebody got irate that we have very high standards for the kind of people we want to come here, which we explain on the website. Like we say on the website and in our workaway profile, like due to both positive and negative experiences, we're now much more discerning about what kind of people we want to come here. So here are the kinds of people we're looking for, and here are the kinds of people we're not looking for. Versus when we started, it was kind of just an open door policy. Hey, whoever wants to come, free for all, right? First come, first serve. And of course, that's why we got so many assholes, right? So we've learned from that. And one person I started talking to, again, never even got on a call with her, she just said, I don't think it's necessary for you to be so discerning and so negative about what kind of people you want coming there, so I don't have any more interest in coming there. Okay, thank you for self-selecting out, right? That's fine that she doesn't want to come hang out with people who are like negative and discerning, or maybe she thinks we're assholes. But what stood out to me was her choice of phrasing, which was something like, I don't think it's necessary for you to do that. Now, what does that imply to you? It's fine if you don't like that. You could not like us for any number of valid reasons, and that's fine. But for her to say that it's not necessary implies that she thinks she knows more about this place and the experience of running it for more than a year than I do, which was one common trait among many of the assholes we had here, right? Yeah. Kinds of people who showed up and immediately decided, this is how you should be doing every little thing you do, right? Nobody gave them that authority. Most of the time they didn't actually know what they were talking about, but even if they did, still you don't necessarily have the authority to start telling other people what to do. And if you check the comments on our latest YouTube videos, you will see many of these types of people. One guy got into a very lengthy argument in the comment section about the problems we had with managing assholes, and he said directly, I run a successful flooring business. I could run that place better than you do. I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'm sure you've had many experiences running a successful flooring business. I certainly wouldn't know how to run a successful flooring business. And I'm sure many of the things you've done managing employees in the flooring business might pertain somewhat to what we're doing here. But do you have any idea how many things I've had to learn how to do just by the experience of doing them here for 6 years? And you watched one video of me talking about some of those things and you think you know more about it than I do? Is that the kind of person I want coming here? Someone who thinks they know more than me about this place? Probably not, right? So immediately screened out, eliminated. This is a common one. We get lots of people who misrepresent their English abilities. We are in Armenia. We take guests from all over the world, right? And one of our explicit requirements is that you speak at least conversational English. right? And guess what? I also offer free English teaching to anyone who comes here, right? So I'm not trying to sound elitist, like, oh, English is the best language in the world. People who don't speak English shouldn't come here because you should learn to speak America's language. We have that requirement for a couple of reasons. One, it is the only global lingua franca, which I wrote a book called that, Our Global Lingua Franca, which is about teaching English better. It is the only language that is shared around the world. Of course, there are other common languages like Russian in this part of the world. In Eastern Europe, we get a lot of people who speak Russian. We've had a lot of people from Iran who speak Farsi, a lot of people who speak French or other European languages, and that's fine. Like I don't require that you speak English while you're in my house, but if I cannot communicate with you on a basic level, and the only language I'm going to do that in is English, I have no way of knowing if you're the kind of person who should come here. I have no way of knowing if you understand the things I'm telling you. I have no way of knowing if you've read and understood anything on our website or seen in our videos. So it's just, there's no reliable way for me to determine if you are the right kind of person to come here. Simple as that, right? Yet, we get a lot of people who will write in quotes, air quotes, very long emails explaining, oh my God, I love everything you're doing. It's so amazing. I've always wanted to go to a place like that. Here are all my skills. Here's all my experience. Here's what I love about what you're doing. And then I get on a call with them because, okay, that's the next step. If you impress me enough with the written communication, we progress to a call. And then suddenly there are two people sitting in front of me who don't understand a word I'm saying. And I said, well, that's strange because you wrote me like a couple pages in quite articulate English about all the reasons you wanted to come here. And I was excited to talk to the person who wrote those emails. So either that person used Google Translate or some kind of translation software, and everything they wrote was accurate in their native language, and they just translated it to English but didn't inform me of that. Or they used something like ChatGPT to write those messages for them, which means potentially none of it was accurate to who they are. And you'll see that too with even people in their Workaway profiles or something, or their messages they send, it's very clearly written by ChatGPT. Yeah. You can tell certain things, like the overuse of M dashes or being overly specific. You stated in your profile you want someone with these 5 qualities. I have these 5 qualities. Like, clearly this was written by a machine. And again, the problem with that is, it is possible that they fed accurate information about themselves into ChatGPT and said, please write a message saying all these things about me, right? So it's possible that the message is an accurate portrayal of them. But I have no way of knowing that, right? Because it's also possible they just said, write a message making me look impressive, right? And so it's basically like we've had no communication whatsoever. So if at all I detect that you have used ChatGPT or translation software and you're not upfront about it, that's an automatic no for me, because it's like you've started our conversation by lying to me, right? And so where do we go from there, right? Then I have to assume everything you tell me is a lie. I had a guy just this week who seemed very, very interested in what we're doing. Lots of messages back and forth. I say, okay, are you free for a call this week? He says, yes, but I don't speak very much English, so my friend is going to be on the call to translate for me. And again, I didn't immediately disqualify. I didn't immediately say, no, how dare you? I said, oh, well, that's a bit strange. It might be difficult for us to work together if you don't speak enough English just to have a conversation with me, though. He said, no, it won't be a problem at all. And then it's just a test. I say to him, hey, can you tell me what you know about the Calavan Retreat Center? No response. Why did I ask him that, and why didn't he respond?
Clear.
I wanted to see if he had actually bothered, like if any of the messages he sent me saying, I love what you're doing at the Calavan Retreat Center were true, which would mean that he's read our website or seen videos of me. And if so, he should at least be able to say a few basic sentences saying, well, here's what you're doing, here's who you are, and here's why I want to come there, right? He didn't respond. So to me, that possibly indicates that the whole thing was bullshit, and he was hoping to just continue bullshitting me until I agreed to let him come here, right? And maybe his friend who translates, maybe he's in on the scam. I have no idea. The point is that there's so much deception from the very first communication sometimes that I just have to say, no, sorry, this is not how I want to work with people. This is not the kind of people I want to come here. Oh, there was the guy who, again, the pattern is always they seem very, very interested in coming here. They seem to have a very specific interest in what we're doing. And as soon as I ask them to get on a call with me, he says, will you provide a visitor visa to Armenia for me? And I say, well, why would I do that? I don't know anything about you. I haven't even had a phone call with you yet. And he said, yeah, but I need that. I said, okay, well, if I decide that I want you coming over here as a volunteer, then maybe we can talk about that. But as it is right now, I haven't even seen your face or had a real conversation with you. So again, I'm not saying, no, how dare you? Don't talk to me anymore. I'm saying, convince me that that's something I should want to do for you. I'm giving you the opportunity to convince me that I want you coming here. And then they stop talking to me. So most likely someone like that was talking to a dozen different people and asking each one, can you get me a visitor visa to Armenia? And whichever one said yes, okay, that's the one I'll go to. Because that's all he was interested in, most likely, right? Otherwise, why suddenly stop talking to me? Somebody wanted to talk to multiple volunteers who had been here a long time to convince him that it wasn't a scam and that he would have a good time here. He was even asking like specific questions about you because he had seen you in multiple of our videos because you've been here the longest of all the volunteers. Amir's been here over a year, off and on. And I said to him, actually, yeah, we have like 6 people here right now. I'm happy to get on a call with you and show you them right now. Like, okay, it's normal to be skeptical about, an organization in a foreign country before you show up there, fine. But the fact that he wouldn't get on a call with me so I could demonstrate to him, I'm real, the people here are real, look at our website, look at our workaway profile, it has lots of testimonials and reviews. He wanted things done his very specific way. He wanted the email addresses and phone numbers of 5 people who'd been there so he could independently interview them. And I just said, no, I don't think this is something I want to deal with. So I just said, no, sorry. Good luck with someone else with that approach, right? This gets into the loser territory, which we talked about in our asshole video. We don't want assholes, losers, and freeloaders. This was a single mother who, from the very first contact, said she was desperate for a place to stay for her and her grown daughter, that she had been kicked out. Yeah, I told you about this. You were here, you were present for this, because this went on for a couple months. She kept contacting me over and over again, even though I kept politely declining. She said her family had kicked her out of every home they had been in, like this was something that had happened multiple times. And I said, well, that sounds really terrible and everything, and I sympathize with you, but why do you keep getting kicked out of every home you stay in? That's a bit of a red flag for me, like what's going on? And of course, nothing is ever her fault. It's because everyone in my family is a racist and a bigot, and then the Turks hate us Armenians, and the Azerbaijanis hate us Armenians, and they're persecuting us, and which is a common narrative among Armenians, which isn't to say that it isn't true. Like, of course, I'm familiar enough with the history between the Turks and the Azerbaijanis and the Armenians to say that, yes, of course, there is persecution of Armenians, but there's a certain type of Armenian who adopts that as like their total worldview for everything bad that ever happens to them. Like, I've been in conversations with why it's hard to spread entrepreneurship and economic knowledge here in Armenia, and the person will respond, well, it's because we don't want to trade with any of our neighbors who are trying to kill us. That's why we don't develop entrepreneurship in this country. Like, okay, what about just amongst yourselves? Wouldn't that be a useful thing? But so that's a perpetual victimization mentality. And then what always happens with this type of person, after a couple months of this going on and me continuing to say, well, I don't really think I'm the right kind of person to help you. That's not the kind of situation I want to be involved in, where someone desperate is living in my house, because if I ever have to ask you to leave, it means I'm kicking you out on the street, and that's not what I want to do. And then she turns the same accusations on me, saying, well, you're just like those Turks, aren't you? You're just like those bigots who keep kicking us out. Lady, I don't know you. I don't owe you anything. You came to me asking for something, and I told you that I would not be able to provide that for you. And already now I have become your enemy, because everyone who doesn't do what you expect them to do is your enemy, right? Common theme we'll see among certain other people we will be talking about, probably in another video. There was another person who claimed they were facing death threats and persecution for their transsexual identity from Iran. And they didn't even want to come here at first. They just knew I was American and begged me to help them to get a visa to America. And I said to them, even if I were willing to do that, what makes you think that I'm in a position to do that? Like, yeah, let me just call Donald Trump and ask if, can this random transsexual Iranian get a visa? Please, I'm American. You have to do what I say, right? And so I just said, I'm sorry, like, I can't really help with that. Here are some links about I even sent them like links about seeking asylum in Europe. Like, maybe this will help you get pointed in the right direction. I don't know, but this isn't my problem. So sorry, that's not what we do. And then later they asked, I'm desperate now. I'm homeless now. Can I come stay there? And I just said, well, no, sorry. Like, again, because you've created the impression of a desperate person, and that's not the kind of people we want here. We want people who choose to be here because it's in their best interest, not because it's their only option, who align with our values, not just people who will go anywhere that will take them, right? Same thing again, just always like, it's not fair, everybody's mean to me, nobody does what I want them to do, and it's not the kind of people we want to help. And I don't want to say like, if you're having problems in your life, I refuse to help you, because we have had other people here who had similar types of problems, like being persecuted for being gay from Iran or something. A lot of Iranians are just coming from a shitty situation, and it's not their fault. But the critical difference is the attitude they have about it. Someone who says, you have to save me from myself, versus someone who says, well, I'm coming from a shitty situation, but I'm headstrong about improving it, and I'm eager to contribute, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity you're giving me to improve my life situation. That kind of person, I'm much more inclined to allow to come here, right? This one's kind of a silly personal thing. One young Armenian man wanted to come here, sent me a few messages on our Instagram saying, oh, I want to learn about what you're doing. Tell me, can I come there? I just look at his Instagram profile, and every single picture is what I describe as tough guy gangster pictures. You know what I mean, right? Like every single picture is like giving the finger, like, yeah, man, fuck you, don't fuck with me, you know who I am. And is it fair for me to like judge someone just based on that? I mean, maybe if I'd gotten to know him, I would have seen, actually, he's a really smart, thoughtful young man. But the point is, he chose to publicly portray himself that way. Right? Exactly. So either that's an accurate representation of him, which means he's probably not the kind of person we want here, or it's an inaccurate portrayal of him, which means he is intentionally misleading the public about what kind of person he is. And in either case, it's at the very least quite questionable. So with this person in particular, I decided, I didn't want to immediately say, no, I don't like the way your pictures look, right? This is one of the small shit tests I do. I don't respond to the first message, and I see if they message again. Because someone who's really, really interested in coming here will probably message a second time and say, hey, I didn't hear back from you, I really want to come there, versus someone who's just casually inquiring about every little place they can go to, will just message every place once and move on to the next one. So that's one little shit test you could do, right? On a similar subject, but in a very different direction, and also we will talk about this person in the next video because it applies there too. One young woman recently wanted to come here, and again, she contacted me through a messenger app, so she didn't have an online profile or anything I could look at, which always makes it easier if they're contacting through Instagram or Facebook or Workaway or something, because then I can at least get a sense of who they are. And she says, hey, I want to come there. Here are 10 pictures of me. And every single one was what I would call a flirty selfie. Now, like one of those I could understand to say, this is what I look like.
80%
right?
was, 80%
90,
was.
no, like one was of her like playing guitar or something, right? But like the other 9 were just like making cute eyes at the camera. And first of all, you don't need to be sending any of those. It's not a dating app. Second of all, why are you sending 9 of them? like I didn't get it the first time that this is what you look like. If that's what I'm basing whether I'm going to accept you on, well, she's really cute, I should accept her, right? Which, first of all, is kind of a creepy thing to do unless I had intentions of romancing this person, right? And in which case, like, either she's too naive to understand that that's the kind of impression she's creating because she was quite young, she was 19. So maybe she just doesn't understand that you're sending the wrong impression if that's how you choose to present yourself in a professional context. Or she is trying to send that kind of impression because she wants creepy old men to say, ooh, a cute 19-year-old girl wants to come live in my house and she's sending these flirty pictures and something's going to happen between us, in which case I definitely don't want her in my house. Exactly. And I don't know why we keep having that problem with women here. The number of women who have tried to sleep with me since I started bringing them into my house is absurd. Like, this is not the kind of thing I thought I was going to be dealing with when I started taking in volunteers, but
I'm
here we are.
That half of them were Iranian?
Yes. Half of them were Iranian, not all of them. Also, ladies, I'm married now. Stop it. Please, if your intention is to come here to sleep with me, just stop it. It's not going to happen. Okay.
And how dangerous this is for her.
Right. Like, because even if I were the guy who would like sleep with her because I think she's cute, at least I'm like a good guy who wouldn't like abuse her or something. But some guys would. Right? And we will get to that. That's our next video about the creepy fucking perv that we kicked out of here for this reason.
Yeah.
That's the next video. Like, it's just astounding. Like, I don't have the authority to be like taking a mentoring or fatherly role in this girl's life and saying, girl, you really got to get your act together because this is worrying me the way you're presenting yourself. But to me, it's just a no, sorry. That's not something I want to deal with. That's a common theme here. I wrote at the top of my notes, is this a problem I want to deal with? That's the guiding principle. It used to be, is this person irredeemably bad? which is not nearly tight enough of a standard. It used to be like, well, they've got some problems, but maybe they'll learn and grow and we'll have a good time together. But instead, it's is this worth my time and attention to deal with the problems this person is going to bring into my house? And that's a much tighter filter that people have to get through. Yeah, the English one, people misrepresenting their English abilities. No-shows. That's a little bit different. We've had a surprising number of people, I would say maybe up to 10 to 20% of people. I accept them to come here. And sometimes it's like a long time in the future, like a month or two ahead of time. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. And then they just don't show up. And so you write them, hey, where are you? When are you arriving here? And sometimes it's on the day. Sometimes it's a few days after that they didn't show. And sometimes they don't respond at all. Sometimes they get back to me a few days later and say, oh, my plans changed. I didn't come there. I'll call you if I'm ever in Armenia again, though. No, please don't bother to. We have limited space here for volunteers. If you've told me you're coming, and I've reserved a bed for you, and I've prepared for your arrival, that means someone else didn't get to come here because you told me you were coming here. Why would I want you to call me again the next time you decide you might want to come here? If you'd made a hotel reservation, would you have remembered to cancel it when your plans changed? Probably, because you want your money back. But if it's just some guy living in some fucking house in Armenia, who cares, right? Yeah. No, not the kind of person we want to deal with. And some people do cancel, right? Some people do say, sorry, my plans changed, I can't come. And I say, okay, it's fine. And if they do want to come again, I will consider allowing them to come because they at least provided bare minimum respect and communication, right? People who, this just happened 2 days ago, people who demand information and give none. So I view the host and volunteer relationship as fairly like reciprocal, mutual. Like obviously there is a hierarchy. Obviously I am the authority. This is my house. Ultimately what I say goes, right? But it's like you're coming here because you've decided this is a good thing for you to do and you want to interact with me as one individual to another, right? And I'm allowing you to come here because I've reached the same conclusion, and hopefully we're both right about that. But some people view it as like they're contacting a customer service hotline and asking for information. And well, first of all, most of this information is available on our website or in our videos. Like, so if you did the smallest amount of research on your own, most of your questions would be answered, right? And also, maybe if there are specific details we haven't listed on our website, maybe there's a reason why. Like maybe we don't want to publicly share that information. Maybe the information is constantly changing. So it's the kind of thing we can easily explain on a call, like current projects we're working on or our current requirements for what kind of people we want to come here. But some people, 2 days ago, some guy messaged me on WhatsApp. There was no name attached to his number. He never told me his name. He said, hey, I'm an Armenian guy. Tell me what kind of skills you require and how long you require people to stay there. And I'd say, hey, I'm Gregory. This is our website. Tell me about yourself. Well, tell me these 5 things about the Calavan Retreat Center. And I say, do you have an online profile or something I can look at? I don't know any information about you. Yeah, I have Facebook. Can you send it to me? No, not until you answer my questions. Not until you tell me all these 5 things I want to know about what you're doing. Like, it's very rude of you to demand personal information about me when you haven't answered my questions. And I say, okay, well, fortunately, I no longer want to know anything about you. So problem solved. You don't have to send me your Facebook profile and we just won't talk to each other anymore. Sound good? Okay. Like, what is happening in these people's minds? Like, they're not interpreting it as like a reciprocal conversation where you have to convince me that I should want to continue a conversation with you. You have to convince me that I should want to get on a video call with you. And you have to convince me that you're somebody I want living in my house for potentially a long time. That burden is on you. We have an expression in America. It's, hey, you called me, buddy, which means you came to me demanding something from me. I didn't know who you were. I still don't even know your name or anything about you. I have no obligation to tell you anything, and I don't need anything from you. The obligation is on you to convince me that I should want to give you the things you want from me. Otherwise, I'd be the one calling random strangers and saying, can you please come to my retreat center and volunteer? Please, 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 let me convince you. Like, they don't get that, though.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's like the information that the people can get from your place is by far better than the average that they can get from other places. Like, at least in the Workaway platform, it's not as much as you have. It's just some information, and you should go there but you don't know them. Maybe they are not good people. Maybe they don't know what the workaway is, but they have an account as a host, and a lots of problem. But here, at least, is by far like they get a lots of information, videos, like see the vibe. If they are really wondering how much more information they need,
Well,
and
and again, those are the things I would tell you in 5 minutes on a call with
Exactly.
you, but you first have to convince me I should even bother having a call with you, right? Which means, like, maybe I should know your name and, like, the smallest amount of information about who you are as a
Yeah.
person, right? And then there was the yoga scammer. So this is a bit of a unique situation because he did actually physically come here, but he did not stay as a volunteer because, well, we learned a lot of information about how he presented himself. This was an Indian guru, is how he would describe himself, who contacted us through Workaway. Again, same old story. Everything you're doing there is amazing. It's exactly the kind of thing I want to do. He learned that at the time I had listed part of my land for sale, and he immediately said, I want to buy your land and start a yoga retreat center on your land with you, and I want to start bringing in all these Indian gurus and all these connections I've made in Yerevan, and I want to start all these projects on your land with you and do all these things with you, which is a huge red flag, because it's very clear that this person really has no idea the practicalities, the realistic details of all the things they say they want to do and that they're interested in. And he did come one day to visit Calavan, but he did not stay here as a volunteer. And again, meeting him in person, everyone in the house immediately saw, this is not a good dude. This is not someone you should trust, because he's the kind of person who would never stop talking about everything amazing about himself, 90% of which was probably made up or embellished, right? Like, hey, here's everything I've accomplished in my life. Here are all the important people who know who I am. Here are pictures of me with important people. Here's all, and it's like, no one asked for this information, buddy. Like, I'm not deciding whether or not I want to work with you or have you stay here based on how many people you know. Like, I just want to see if you're a piece of shit first. That's priority number one. The other rest is details, right? And later I started getting anonymous messages from somebody who said, you shouldn't trust this guy. He has millions of dollars of debt in India. I don't know how this person found out that I was associated with this person in any way. Like, maybe he was talking about me to other people. I'm going to go work with Gregory Deal in Calavan and do all these things. And then people start writing me, yeah, this guy's like running from the law in India. He's got millions of dollars in debt. Everything he says is a lie. And at that point, well, fuck, I've already started conversations with this guy and he thinks we're like buddies now or something, which is not an impression I ever intentionally created. So at that point, you just stop talking to him. You just like let the conversation end and you don't respond in the affirmative to anything he wants to do. But also you don't just say like, hey, fuck you, I don't want to talk to you, because then he gets like suspicious and thinks maybe like that we're plotting against him, because this is that kind of paranoid kind of person who thinks everyone in the world who doesn't do what you want them to do is their enemy. You just say, no, I don't think any of that's going to work, actually. The whole yoga center you want to do, oh, now you want to do these things, now you want to do these things. Every time you talk to him, it's a different fucking story. And you just say, no, actually, I don't think I'm interested in doing any of that stuff. We're going to be pretty busy for the next couple of years, so maybe in a couple of years we'll talk about it then. We'll see, right? Eventually, as far as I know, he left the country because he couldn't do any of the bullshit he wanted to do here. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't want to know. I don't want to be association with this guy. So that's another screening method. Just, can this person even like tell a consistent history of who they are and what they want to do and what their ambitions are, and like it's crazy how many people just can't even get to that stage of making a good enough impression that I'm considering letting them stay in my house even as a short-term volunteer, which is such like a low level of commitment and responsibility. I mean, like, I'm not saying like, come marry me, come live with me for life, or even long-term necessarily. It's like, yeah, you can stay in my house for a week. I trust you enough that you're not gonna like break anything or start an argument with anyone, right? Like, that's the minimum standard of me saying, yeah, okay, you can come hang out here. And so many people don't even get to that point where I feel good enough to do that. So various forms of pre-screening and shit tests to eliminate people before you even get on a call with them, and certainly before you allow them to come to your house.